There are over 50,000 businesses registered here in Calgary, and that's not even including the businesses which operate from Calgary but are registered elsewhere. All these businesses surely require people to work for them, but for some reason, finding a job in Calgary has always been challenging. So if you are someone who's currently looking for a job in Calgary, then you can fall in one of these two categories. The first one, you're already in Calgary and are looking to switch jobs, or two, you are considering to move to Calgary but don't have a job yet and would move only once you secure your job.
For both these categories, I believe your intention is to live here in Calgary. And for that to happen, you need not just look for jobs here in Calgary, but can also look for remote jobs all over the country, provided your profession allows for that.
The first step in your job search journey should be to identify the role which you want to apply to. Now, for most people, this is easy and it'll take only a few seconds. But I would want you to go a step further and think about other roles or names by which your job would be advertised. For example, I was looking for a business analyst role in the IT industry, but my experience was similar to other roles such as a product owner role, product manager, business system analyst, or even a project manager.
The next step is the most important one, but for you to understand its importance, we need to play a small game. Ready? Okay, imagine that you are having a headache and for that you want to take a medication. Now on your screen you will see 5 medications and you have to select any 2 of them. Now if you selected Tylenol or Saradol, it's probably you are familiar with these 2 medications and have already had them before in your life. The reason why you rejected the other 3 medications is because of a phenomena called as familiarity bias.
Familiarity bias is evident on a day-to-day basis. Going to the same shopping center, taking the same route to work, or even ordering the same items on the menu when you visit a restaurant are all examples of a familiarity bias. Even with advertising, when you see the ad of a cheesy pizza on TV, it is possible that the next time you feel hungry, you might just order the same brand of pizza which you saw earlier.
So when recruiters are going through multiple applications, they will give your application a good look if you are familiar to them. And the best way to do this is to meet them in person before you apply for the job.
This can be achieved by attending events which are happening close to you. Find an event that you're interested in, and you can do this by using Eventbrite or meetup.com. Try and reach early, and when you're there, speak to the people who are already there. Just ask them what they do, listen to them carefully and curiously, and add a point or two about something that you've done or you've read about.
You can let them know that you're looking for a job during your conversation, and when you do that, they will themselves ask you to connect with them over LinkedIn. And in case they don't, then you can request them for a connection, and I'm sure 99.9% of them will not say no.
After that, be on the lookout for a job opening in their company, and once you see the job, just request them to refer you. In my case, I was usually attending events by looking at the speaker list or the agenda, and that was something that got me interested to go to the event. But sometimes when it didn't interest me, I usually avoided them. One of the events that I attended had executives coming in from various provinces, and they were talking about sustainability. I was curious to know about it, so I did go out to the event, and I happened to reach early. When I reached there were only 2 people present, and I struck a conversation, and one of them happened to be the VP of a Calgary-based company. The conversation was pretty casual, but I did put forward a few points, and at the end, I managed to get a LinkedIn connection with him. A few weeks later, I found a job opening in that company, and I reached out to him requesting for a reference, which he did, and after 2 rounds, I got the job. And the 2 rounds included an HR round.
In the other category where you are already here in Calgary and looking for a job, you can still follow the same steps which we have mentioned earlier. The events happening locally here in Calgary will have a lot of local businesses in attendance, and it will greatly improve your chances of getting a valuable connection who can then refer you for a job.
For better or worse, people in Canada are hesitant when it comes to referring people. It is their reputation which is at stake, and they don't want to refer a person unless they're absolutely sure of the person's capabilities. This is probably why the referrals in Canada are so valuable.
Now, if you don't get a referral, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. There's still a lot of ways through which you can get a job. It's just going to take some more time. If you have made it this far in the video, then I'm going to share one technique with you which I use to get my first job in Canada. You can use the same technique to find a job here in Calgary, But just make sure that you only use this technique for jobs which have a knowledge test as a part of their application, because it is only valid for that kind of applications. Usually these knowledge tests are some kind of aptitude test which are combined with questions from the role that you are applying to, and more often than not these knowledge tests are outsourced to a third party. In my case, before taking the test, I saw the test window and it had the name of the third party vendor which had created the test. So I went to their website and registered myself as a business and created a bunch of tests for the same role that I was applying to. Now these websites, they have a trial version which is free. So I had that 7-day free trial version, so I was able to create these tests for free. And then I took all those tests until a point that the questions started to repeat. Once I was confident, I came back to my original test and initiated it. As expected, I was able to answer most of the questions fairly easily. It was very easy for me. And then the very next day I got an interview call, and then 2 weeks later I had the offer in my hand.
Getting a job is dependent on how many interviews we get, which depends on how many calls we get, which in turn depends on how many jobs we apply to. If we consider the law of average and apply for 1,000 applications, then we would get 100 calls, which would then lead to 10 interviews and eventually lead to 2 or 3 jobs that we can select from. Alternatively, we can attend 20 events, which would help us get connected to 20 plus individuals, which would then help us get 10 interviews and eventually 2 to 3 jobs to select from. Whatever you do, just keep trying. You just need to hit the target once. If you like this video, then you should definitely watch this other video that I created explaining how I got a high-paying job in Amazon through LinkedIn.